All right, you mob, welcome back to the fucking show. We Who needs theme music when I start the fucking show? Every episode like that. Welcome back to the fucking show. So, for the first time in the history of the show, it finally happened. I recorded an episode last night and it is unusable because of how shit-faced I was. So, not not a great look actually this morning when I went back to listen to it, and I went, oh no, I can't fucking use any of this is devastating news. So Karl, I can feel your judgment. I reject your judgment. A couple big housekeeping admin items here. The podcast is on YouTube now and YouTube Music. So if that is your preferred listening platform, it's your lucky fucking day, because I finally got around to it and put the show up on. It was honestly pretty easy. I just had to get in there and put the RSS feed in. But the show is on YouTube, and it tells me that it should populate over to YouTube Music as well. I will double check that and make sure. And of course, the link will be in the show notes for that. Does anybody use Twitter anymore, or X or whatever the hell it's called? Because I'm debating like making a Twitter account for the show, but like, how practical is that? I feel like most of the kids and shit nowadays are on the gram and on TikTok and all that. So I'm not really sure just how practical it would be to have a Twitter account for the show, but it would give me a place to tweet my silly little thoughts. So the show is also going to be receiving a theme. It's good Lord. A theme will be bestowed upon the show in the next week or so. I have it narrowed down to a couple, and we are just kind of waiting now because it turns out that licensing royalty-free music is shockingly expensive. And, you know, before you come for me and say, Rackham, like, how expensive can it really be to license one royalty-free song? Well, I'll fucking tell you, Buster. It is $50 per track. And there are 2 or 3 tracks that I am a fan of that I would want to use as intro and outro music. So that, for those of you whose brains aren't geniuses, like me, that adds up to $100 to $150 for 3 songs. So I know it definitely seems like your boy has made of money here, walking around buying Roadcasters and Lewitts and pod mics and all this shit, but that's why your boy is not made of money, because I did all that shit. So instant gratification, ADHD traits, just things. What else? Yeah, speaking of unhealthy gear obsessions, I am staring now at a brand new hot pink Rode XLR cable that cost me $70. So maybe that's why I don't have any money, is because I spend all my money on Rode shit. But who can truly say? It's really a mystery. I have to throw that out there. So yes. And the final kind of bit of housekeeping here. Your favorite host has a man cold, and we will probably be making liberal use of the mute button tonight. So since I'm back in the out of town job in the hotel here, I don't know. There may just be kind of weird gaps, because I really, as much as I wish GarageBand for iOS was a little more full featured, it is nightmarish to edit the kind of fine detail shit like that on it with an Apple Pencil and a mouse. Honest to God, trying to cut out little sections like that, I want to blow my fucking brains out, and it makes me miss Audacity every fucking time I have to go in there and try and edit something in there. So we will not be editing out any like big blanks that we have. So sorry. So, but it, weigh it against what's better to hear: a little bit of a blank spot in the podcast, or me coughing a lung up because I have a frog in my throat. And I sense the irony here in that I recorded a whole episode last night, and then oopsie doopsie poopsie. By the end of it, I was too drunk, and like the back half of it is just beyond unusable. And I know y'all just heard the ice tinkling around in the mug here. So, yes, we are on the piss again. We are not. When I started recording last night, I swear to God, I was 5-drink mommy at that point. So, we're a little more well behaved tonight. So, I'm hoping it won't go that way again. Honestly, I should put up like the last 5 minutes of the episode because I don't know what the fuck happened. I was listening to it this morning and I was like, what the hell? I was like drunk and then I was falling asleep while I was recording, but I just wanted to like push through and get done. So I'm pretty sure I like fell asleep and was drunkenly sleep talking because I was talking about like rehab randomly and who had the transmitter and when we could get together to transmit. And I listened to it again on the drive up here and I was like, oh, I was on one last night. Like, holy fuck. I don't even know if I can blame this on the liquor. I think I just kind of maybe fell asleep while recording, but somehow my mouth kept working. So lucky me. That one will stay in the vault. And it's too bad because there was some good shit in there. And maybe I don't know. That. But at the same time, this is the now we come to the warning. This episode is 6.5 minutes in. This episode is rated A for April. So all y'all who thought we were free of April, we are not. But I did real good, didn't I? It's been almost 20 episodes since I really did a whole episode on her. So this is your advance warning. This episode is rated A for April, and a large portion of it is about April. So just don't say that I didn't warn you when you listen to the episode and it's all about fucking April. So, yeah. So that is another reason I am real hesitant to post it because by the end of it, I had no inhibitions or any such thing or common sense. So unfortunately, I kind of was shooting from the hip and saying things that while I do mean them, I don't know that I want them to be general knowledge. I'd like them to be a little more locked up and kind of not for everyone to hear. So yes, that episode does exist. I'm pretty sure it's like almost an hour, which is the really annoying part is that I have to fully re-record this episode because like the last 25 minutes of that, yeah, it's 56.5 minutes and I can't fucking use any of it. So lucky fucking me. And you know what? We're going to have to speedrun this too, because unless I want to dick around with other audio editing programs on the iPad, but a shock horror, Apple has kind of a monopoly on it with GarageBand. So I did mean to dig into Ferrite here and just have a look at that, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So yes, this is the problem when I'm mobile is that if the podcast goes over an hour, like there's not really fucking anything I can do about it because GarageBand has this freaking time limit. So as far as I know, maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But yes, we will have to explore other options if that's the case. But for now, the 9-minute intro is over. I cannot believe I just talked for that long. I feel like I probably didn't say a whole lot of anything, but yeah. Just before we really dig in here, we are going to take a quick little break so mommy can have a cigarette, and then we will be back shortly. And I don't know why I announce these breaks to you guys, because to you, especially with the Roadcaster here, it's like no time has passed at all. And we're back. I did that last night, and I just like the way that it works. Coming back from an intermission is to play the chimes. So hopefully that's not too loud. I'll know before you guys do. So, yes, this script is gargantuan. I really just couldn't help myself here. So, we're tight for time, but let's take fucking 10 seconds to throw you on out there. And have a sip. Okay. So, shock horror. We're back again with my tomfoolery. It's fucking crazy that we're back here. Almost 20 episodes later, like I said in the intro. But I guess that's kind of what I get for trying to fool myself into thinking like I'm okay and over everything. Um It's very ironic that it would be April that I would feel this way about. When she was so convinced when we were together that this is how I felt about January. She was always so sure that like I wasn't over January, and I was pining over January, and I was just using her until January and I got back together, and I could just never convince her that like there was nothing she needed to worry about with January. And like I really only had eyes for April when we were together, and apparently still even now, fucking 3 months later. So um I guess I was right in the end. What a Pyrrhic victory it is for me. But like the focus of the episode is not solely April. But having recorded it once, I can say that it's mostly about April. She was just on my mind when I wrote this last night. So, like while I was writing, I usually write to music or whatever. So last night it was Sleep Token, because I'm trying to like reclaim them mentally because they're fully associated with April in my head. So I was really forcing myself to listen to their album while I was recording, and this bothered me last night. Take Me Back to Eden. That is the name of the album, and I couldn't remember last night when I was recording. So, um, yeah, they were like the band I was obsessed with, like right before we got together, and then they during like the beginning I was just listening to nothing but Sleep Tokens, so obviously I'm going to kind of associate them with April. And then like Rain by Sleep Token was April's song in my mind. So and there is a memory associated with that song that I like very much, and I very much wish I could erase from my brain. But bonus points to any listener if you can guess the line from that song that makes me think of her. And like a lot of it does, but there's one specific line. So yeah, so send it in if you think you know. Dumbereveryday42 at gmail.com. So if future me is as clever as I give him credit for, he'll have come up with some kind of witty title for the episode. Shock horror, spoiler alert, I have not. I didn't have one last night, and I don't have one tonight. So just goes to show you, slightly less drunk me writing this was not smarter than very much more drunk me recording this last night, and mostly sober me currently. So but yeah, so witty title for this episode that falls along the lines of death and or being destroyed or pulled in three directions. Oh, here we go. Mute button, judicious use. Sorry about that, guys. And I'm sure it doesn't take a genius to figure out what that's all about. But just in case your brain isn't a genius, I'll spell it out for you. It really feels like I'm being pulled in three directions, and it's very quietly destroying me, as you would expect from that kind of feeling. And destroy might be too strong of a word for this, but I am a very, very sick senorita, and I was a very sick senorita when I wrote this, and I just can't think of anything better. But maybe podcast me will know what I was trying to say here. So I am podcast me. Hello. Well, of course I know him. He's me. Yes, destroy is the wrong word. It's just kind of like eating me up inside, or kind of, it's an internal struggle that is taking up a lot of like mental horsepower, and a lot of like, I don't know what the right way to put it is, but like I feel like I'm succinctly sort of getting my point across here. It's not, destroy isn't the right word. It's just being pulled in three directions at all times is bound to kind of wear you down, and it really is just this internal war I'm waging against myself that I would like to not be doing anymore, to tell you the truth, just because, like I said, I'm expending very much a lot of mental horsepower on this, and I'm tired of it, honestly. So, oh no, big guy. Where was I? Getting back on track here though. Three directions, and The kind of theme for this is each direction is going to be based on a person. So, just in case, I was listening today to last night's recording, and I realized I never really fully explained that. So yes, each direction is based on a person and or metaphor. So, the first direction and or metaphor is April, shock horror. But by this point, that much should be obvious. And let's be real clear here. Like, I'm not under any illusions that her and I are ever even going to speak again. Let alone like see each other again or get back together or anything along those lines. Like, I am not living in Delulu land here where I think that is even a real possibility, because I burned that bridge fairly explosively, if we're being honest. The day that I sent like the voice note to her that was like, I need a fucking break from you. I think I know what she was up to that day, and if I know her like I think I do, and I know what she was doing that day, getting that voice note from me on top of dealing with what I think she was dealing with would have fucking just enraged her against me. So I like, just to be very, very clear here, like, as much as I'm going to say a lot of things here, I definitely don't have any hope or any of that her and I will even ever fucking speak again. This is just what's kind of on my mind, having been through a relationship or two here and having them both kind of get to the same point and going, okay, well, this is obviously going to be like an ongoing thing, unfortunately, and we probably need to address this. So, but yes, so fucking mute button again. Sorry, guys. Trust me, the mute button is better than what I'm doing when the mic is muted. But like April, she's still there, like looming over every new person and every new relationship, and like just kind of quietly in the back of my head reminding me of how it felt when we were together and how these new people just don't measure up to that feeling. And I have a note here in just the general ideas note for the podcast of like, is it fair to compare every new relationship I'm in to April in the same way that it was unfair to her to compare our relationship to January and hold it to the standards that I had for January and I? So that is something we will need to dig in here, especially given how destructive it is to my current attempt at having relationships. But yeah. And like, I'm not even sure how to get over her fully, and this is the crux, the problem, the center of the eye of the hurricane. Like, I don't even know if I want to, if I'm being honest. Well, like, while I would like so much to hear from her, I don't hold any illusions that that'll happen. Like, as I just said, like, I'm not burning with some secret fucking hope and dream that April and I will ever speak again. I think that ship has sailed, and I pretty well set off a stick of dynamite and blew that up. So, but yeah. Anyway, I don't hold out hope beyond like a little bit of wishful thinking when I check my email, especially lately. Like, because I told her and I said it on the podcast, and I don't know if she listens anymore since I sent her that voice note, but I did tell her, like, you want to talk to me, my personal email, the podcast email, and if you want to get real creative, you can find me on Facebook Messenger. So I do get a little whimsical when I'm checking my email, especially after a few hours, but I think I don't want to be over her. I don't want to forget her, and I don't want to forget the feeling of when we first got together. Like, I think the reason that she made so much of an impact and has had such a lasting impact on me is, like, she was my first like real relationship after January and I had split, and like she really made me believe I was worth a shit and I deserved all the kindness and love she showed me in the beginning. And she really did like build up my self-esteem and make me feel like I could be confident with her and I deserve to be confident. And I really took advantage of that from her and kind of didn't give it back to her, unfortunately. But I really think that I'm kind of like chasing the dragon, like that, chasing that feeling that I had with her, and trying to get it back. And I don't know that that'll ever happen. I think it was a right time, right place kind of thing for that feeling. And I know I had said it in one of the earlier episodes that there's no such thing as like the right person at the wrong time. Just the person at the time, basically. Like who they are is who they are when you meet them, and it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter if the time is right or wrong. It's just they're who you meet. But I'm starting to think though that April really may have been the right person at the wrong time, and for all I know I just got done saying like, oh, I don't have all this hope and blah blah blah. I don't dream about this, but like in my heart of hearts, my private whatever, my mind palace, um, there is a little sliver of hope that says to me like, maybe someday, but I very much try not to encourage that because it, as I've found with her, hope tends to lead to hurt, and that is a lesson I learned many times very painfully. So, and here I am doing it to myself again. Like I haven't learned that lesson fucking 50 times already. So, I guess we have learned, nothing. Anyway, so the first direction that I'm pulled in is April, as in I'm not over her and I don't think I want to be currently. And then moving on with the theme of having the direction be a person and or metaphor, we'll say that, direction 2 is Karl. And again, this one should be very, very obvious to any regular listener of the show, especially from the last few episodes. She's certainly been trying the last few weeks to try and like get me back on the straight and narrow, to get right with God, to get right with myself and my conscience. And she's trying her hardest, and I am just choosing to not do any of that and continue to just be my sinful little self. And yeah, my oh no, I missed the mute button. Very sorry, guys. Oh, fucking hotel ice. Fuck. It's been a while since we had one of those. But yeah, my foolish life decisions have kind of aggravated her to the point of jokingly threatening me with violence. And I so wish that I could play that on the podcast, honestly, because it's so funny. Which is not how she meant it, actually. She probably meant it as more of a smarten up or else, but I got a good giggle out of it. So, yeah, it's like she thinks a smack upside the head would fix all the damage I'm doing to myself and to others. Which, who knows, maybe my mother thought the same way, and look how that turned out for her. Both her children have abandoned her, so that's neither here nor there, though. Karl, like, honestly paints this, like, beautiful picture of what a life lived following Jesus looks like, including struggles and everything, and she definitely doesn't sugarcoat it and make it sound like it's like a land of milk and honey, especially because I know it isn't. Like, all the Christians that I knew before I became one really did not dance around this. They were like, hey man, it is so much better than the way you're living now, and it is not easy, and a lot of it's going to fucking suck. So prepare yourself for that. But when Karl kind of talks about it, like, I can't help but notice that I haven't experienced what she's talking about, a lot of what she's talking about. Like, I don't know that I've known like the peace and the stillness and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, maybe my faith is just too weak, or maybe I have lost my salvation despite what I've been told. Maybe I've just strayed too far. But whatever it is, I just can't bring myself to stop living the way I am. Um, and we're kind of told, like, when you accept Jesus, a peace unlike any other you've ever known will come over you, and prayer will provide. I can never remember the quote, or not the quote, the verse, but it's something along the same lines. Like, you'll experience peace in prayer, and I never have. Yeah, that's a fucking whole other episode here, but and who know, like, even my own pastor has been like, you can't lose your salvation. I'm like, are you sure about that? Like, you sure about that? Because just the way I'm living. But whatever it is, like, I just can't bring myself to stop living the way that I am. And maybe this ties back to my unwillingness to get my unwillingness to get over April, because to really fully accept a Christian life is to acknowledge that, like, April is not the right one for me, and let her go. And this was something I went through when we were together, as I was like, ooh, these two things don't go well together. And obviously I chose April, but and then again, maybe it's not that deep, and I really just like being big rooter and having all kinds of fun the way I am. Just the big dog LDD. I'm a big rooter out here, so. But whatever the cause, like, all I know is, where did it go? I constantly have a voice in my head that sounds a lot like Karl, reminding me that what I'm doing isn't necessarily, like, wrong. It's not what God would expect of me, and I should stop. So, direction 2, constant conviction from Karl, and more than likely the Holy Spirit. Big yawn. Like, it's definitely a cause of a lot of guilt I seem to walk around with lately, which probably means that someone other than me is right about the situation. But I won't give it up, because I'm a stubborn old fuck, and I'll be stubborn till the very end. I can't let April go, and I just can't let this life go. But I'm caught in the middle by my own volition. I used to say the problem was that I'm too Christian for a worldly woman, and too worldly for a Christian woman. And at this point, I think we can all agree that I'm just too worldly for a Christian woman, and that's the entire statement. And it's kind of funny how it shifted so slowly that I didn't notice until it had moved that far. Mute button again here, guys. And then for direction 3, I feel like there was more I said about Karl in the initial recording, but I can't remember. Maybe it was in the end, because there's more about Karl at the end. But anyway, for direction 3, we've got the new girl, and I don't know that she gets a nickname, honestly, because while she is partially the whole reason, she's also a bit of a metaphor for all of it, as in direction 3 is just kind of like my dating life, basically. And the new girl just happens to be the face of that currently. And here we go. I guess the third direction could be described as every woman who's come into contact with me since January and I broke up. Like, even the ones I didn't mean to damage or hurt, it happened anyway. Like April, Autumn, May, the new girl, and like a few didn't even ever get mentioned on the podcast, because I don't tell you fucking mob everything. You don't need to know everything. So, I kind of just seem to be like a walking wound these days, and God help anybody who comes into contact with me. Like, I don't even intentionally mean to do the damage I'm doing. I just keep lying to myself and saying I'm okay, and I'm over April, and I'm ready for this, and I'm ready for dating. And it all comes crumbling down the second that these girls don't measure up to this ridiculous standard I have in my head. But the guilt remains, and it's as real as anything else. Like, I genuinely regret if any of them got hurt, especially new girl, because I haven't ended it yet. And at a certain point, I won't be able to say it was unintentional with her, because at this point I've realized, like, I'm not over April, and I know that it's making me kind of think that New Girl and I's relationship isn't going to go anywhere. And I'm choosing to kind of continue on and hope that my feelings or my mind will change, and hoping that this mess will just kind of fix itself. Really hoping that one day I won't feel this way, the way that I do. And meanwhile, the new girl just gets more involved with me, so that it will hurt that much fucking more for her when it all falls apart. And yeah, that is a big source of guilt, right? Like, obvious, and it's not handling noise here, guys. Sorry. We are very precariously have the mic rigged up with this mic stand, because we are on the pod mic tonight. So hopefully this doesn't sound like a whole bag of shit. But yeah, it's a real big fucking source of guilt here that I am still continuing along with this relationship, when, you know, I know, like, it definitely happens at least once a time we get together, where I look at her and in my head I'm like, well, you're not April. So and it's funny, not funny, haha, but funny, whatever, how, like, two of the ways I'm being pulled are basically just guilt with a different name. And it's almost like I subconsciously know that while what I'm doing, no, sorry, I subconsciously know that what I'm doing isn't great, he said with heavy sarcasm. Like, I so badly want to recapture that feeling I had with April, and I'm just looking in all the wrong places. Like, I don't think I'll ever find that feeling again, to tell you the truth. Like, I think that was a one and done, and it was specifically only with April, and only at the beginning, before we hurt each other so much. And of course, Caillou has very strong opinions about this. Oh, so sorry, especially to Karl. Yeah, Caillou is convinced that that what I need to do is unblock April and say, geez Louise, send her a message saying, you know, like, I was wrong about everything and you were right, and, like, baby, come back. And it's terrible fucking advice, honestly. You, like, obviously I know that. That's no way to go about it. But at the same time, Kai's trying to live vicariously through, like, Spaghetti and I, because we're both dating, and Caillou was in a relationship, and we talked Spaghetti back into getting back on the dating apps, and he's just kind of fucking turned into a monster. So good job, Spaghetti. But yes, I think Caillou likes drama as much as me, so that would certainly be the cause for a lot of drama if I unblocked April and sent her that message. But you know, I'd rather, that's just terrible advice. I'd rather her want to how do I word this? Because there's if I say it how I wrote it, it sounds very much like it's not what you said, it's how you said it. I want you to want to, blah blah blah. Like, I want April to want to talk to me, as freaking gross as that sounds. Like, I don't want her to do it out of this sense of guilt or whatever, because she heard the podcast and hears me talking about this. Like, no, if you don't want to talk to me, then don't talk to me. But if you do, and you genuinely have something to say, then of course I want to hear from you. But at the same time, like we've said repeatedly now, I don't really think that'll ever happen. But yes, Caillou he's very invested in my dating adventure and trying to live vicariously through me, and to a lesser extent Spaghetti. So I very much, I've got a feeling all this is just kind of being said into the void, and she doesn't even listen anymore. And, you know, I couldn't blame her if she didn't. But I have it written down here. We're rambling now. All roads lead back to April. So that's what I've been dealing with, this three-way guilt. And it would definitely kind of explain the lack of episodes. I just kind of haven't wanted to sit down and record, knowing that eventually it would lead to something about April. And I really don't want to, despite the fact that I spent more than half this episode talking about her, and there's more to say here. I don't like talking about her, because I don't want her to think that I'm, like, obsessed with her, some kind of, like, swim fan stalker. It's It's not that. It's just I can't get over her. And yeah, and it's at the cost of every new relationship I enter. She this is the effect she had on me, and this is the lingering effect that remains, is that I cannot get over her and I cannot get her out of my mind. And just again, to be very, very clear here, hang on. I'm not blaming her for anything here. Like, this is not her fault. It's it's me. I'm the one who can't unfuck my head about this. And like she moved on and left me behind. And I think she has a new partner, and I'm sure she's doing very good and very well, and I'm sure life is going great for her. And like, I'm not blaming her for any of this. This is my shit. And if I'm being a little honest, like, I don't know, I want to drag her back into the shit again? And I don't, because I want to be better, really. And we've talked about this, like, this is why I stuck with therapy after she left, is that like it was for me and blah blah blah. But I don't know. And if I really sat down and let out like everything that I feel and say about this, it would just be a mess. And I need to write it out, and I need to be very careful about what I say here, because while I don't think she does listen, she might. So again, we just gotta watch our fucking mouths. And then again we come back to why, the eternal question for her. Like, why am I so eager to go back to her if it was an option? Like, it's like I forget the last few weeks we were together, or like how it was when she wanted to press pause in quotes, and I spent every free second either in bed sleeping or listening to We Mean Well, so I wouldn't have to think about it. And like, that was that was a bad time, guys, in the summer there. Those 3 weeks were fucking brutal. If I wasn't working, I was at home in bed, and I was either trying to sleep or I was listening to We Mean Well. And like, it was so bad. I listened to, at the time, the entire We Mean Well show front to back twice. So like episode 0 to 79, and I started over. And then I just have gotten caught up as they've come out. But that's like almost 160 episodes of 160 hours of content of two Australians shit talking. So like, shout out to Jake and Laura for getting me through that. Like, We Mean Well has a very, very special little place in my heart for getting me through that time kind of with a smile on my face, because when everything else fucking sucked and nothing was going right and I just couldn't stop being miserable about April and being down in the dumps and fucking just bitter and mad and sad, We Mean Well was there for me and put a smile on my face every day. So so yes, that is your incentive to go check out We Mean Well. Again, I'll put a note in the show notes. But yeah, that was a very brutal, like, no fun allowed time that I really don't know that I should be so eager to get back to. But at the same time, I really believe that there was something more than normal with her, and I don't want to let go for hope that I'm right and there is something more there that we just never had the chance to explore. Because yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. What do they say? Like, no regret. You shouldn't live with regrets. Like, well, I've got my. Everybody has their fair share. Show me a man who says he's got no regrets, and I'll show you a fucking liar. But I don't know. I've said this before on other episodes, and then just like to be a little less emotional. Like, in my head, it just feels unfinished still, and I know it is finished and done. And I've launched a suitcase nuke into the bridge between her and I and blown it up, and it's finished. But there's just some part of me that's like, but maybe not. And that part of me is a lying asshole, and I wish he would shut the fuck up. So this is very much self-imposed suffering, and that is a prison I am very familiar with. So big yawn. Of course, we can't end the episode too without revisiting Carl and God. And, I have less to say about this currently just because I know I don't want to change right now. So it's kind of a moot point to go back and forth debating with myself about it. And it's even shittier to go back and forth with Carl about it, like point counterpoint, because I know that I don't want to change. And I think she knows that I don't want to change. And I hate that. Yeah, I have it written here. Like I genuinely feel bad, and it really kind of feels like I'm taking advantage of Carl's kindness because we have these like very very good like long talks, and it all seems so clear, and I'm turning back to the faith, and then the morning comes, and I'm right back to where I started, and I'm not any farther away from the mess that I've made, and I'm honestly kind of reveling in it, and I really breathing is really fucking hard. Big yawn. Oh gosh, come on, fella, tighten up. 20 minutes left. I really have not been able to stop thinking about Carl telling me that she thinks the podcast has just kind of become this avenue for me to convince myself that the sins I'm committing are okay, and it's definitely given me pause and made me wonder if it's true. Mute time. And this episode is a perfect idea. Like, I am fully re-recording an episode because the one I did record, I was too shit faced, and it's basically unusable trash. So that is this me trying to justify my behavior and defend my actions? Like, I definitely can see where Carl's coming from. Where I get on here and I'm like, surprise, guys, I was shit faced again. Ha ha ha! Isn't that funny? But yeah, um, that has definitely been in my head since she said it to me the other week. And it's given me pause, and it's made me wonder, like, is that true? I don't necessarily hear it all the time, but would I? Um, or is this something that like an outside ear needs to hear to tell me to be like, bro, which Carl loves to do. And like I clearly am set in my ways currently, and I feel that it'll take something real miraculous to knock me off the path that I'm on. But the guilt remains that I'm taking advantage of and letting Carl down. And you know what? I'm actually happy I get a second chance to record this section because I fucked it up last night and I said this next part wrong. But like for her being someone I barely know, her opinion has certainly become one I value like very highly in the last few weeks. Um, Although you definitely couldn't tell from my behavior towards her. Um, I just kind of have been a real shitty friend for the last week and a half to her, and that's really not fair to her. But that's a more private conversation for her and I to have. But I definitely have to just give my head a shake because it's just fucking foolish of me to neglect our friendship like that. Mute time again, guys. So sorry. Oh, this mute button is such a fucking blessing. But here we go. All in all, I don't really know that we solved anything or figured anything out beyond I somehow still have more to say about April. Um, it's genuinely mind boggling that it's been 3 months and I still have things and thoughts and stuff I have to get out because I can't just keep it inside myself because it just festers and drives me crazy. And then I just, blah. No, I have to talk about it. And that's what the podcast is for. And, you know, April, if you are listening and you made it this far, like I'm very sorry that you are once again the central topic of an episode. But maybe you can be pleased with yourself that you had this kind of impact on me. I don't know. I'm at this point. I'm more than sure you. I half wonder if you hate my guts at this point. So I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, like I know podcast me, that's me, will fill in some of the gaps on the fly, commentary wise, but still, like another fucking episode about her is just beyond insane to me. like I've never had someone affect me this strongly, and it's like a Herculean act of will to try. And oh, what does this say? It's a Herculean act of will to like not try and have the lesson learned be don't ever let someone in like that again. Um, it doesn't do anyone any good, me most of all. And like I had to tell Jilly that once upon a time where she was like, "What are you going to take away from this relationship with April?" And I was like, "Well, the wrong lesson I feel to take would be like you should never let anyone in as far and as fast as you let April in." And Jilly very sagely nodded and told me that was correct. So I try and remember that, in that while it didn't work out, like I fully just kind of opened up myself to her and didn't hold anything back. And while it didn't work out, it was very, I find that that was the one of the best relationships I've ever been in the beginning, because I wasn't holding anything back and I was being like just fully myself and fully honest with her. And it was probably just too much for her, because at the time I was still a fucking mess. And clearly I am a mess, but I'm less of a mess now because I can articulate all these things and I am willing to talk about them. Back then I would have just ignored it and pushed it down, and look, I did that, and look at the fucking mess it made. So but yes, I guess I just need time, and like a lot of it, and to stop fighting with myself, where it's like, okay, well, you should, when we've talked about this, what Karl said to me, like you should be over this. Why are you still struggling? And blah, blah, blah. But, because one part of me is like, bro, it's been 3 months. Like, it's been longer than you were together. But the other part of me is like, who cares how long it was? Like, she obviously has had an effect on you, and you just need to work through that, and you're choosing not to. So shock horror that you're still fucking fighting around with it within yourself. But um yeah, I just maybe need to get to a place where I do want to get over her, but right now we're not there. I don't want to get over her. And if our pattern continues, and part of me really hopes it does, like just when it looks like I'm ready to take the next steps and start moving on and blah blah blah, she'll find a way to message me, because that really kind of seems like when she would pop back up into my life is when I would talk on the podcast about a new person or whatever and how things were going well. All of a sudden I would have a message from April, and maybe there's no correlation, and it just was funny timing, but I don't know. Um, that's the pattern I'm referring to here, but I can't even be that upset about it, because it would genuinely make me very happy to see like April first name last name pop up in my inbox, regardless of what she had to say. So who knows? Like I said, I'm really not, and it's hard to talk about this and be like, guys, I don't have that much hope, and then spend 30 minutes talking about her. But like, this is just kind of what's on my mind lately. And like, there's really not this like ray of hope in my head that this will be the grand gesture that brings her back. Like, I don't think it will. I don't I don't think she'll ever reach out to me again, because I said like, I need a fucking break from you. And if anything, I need to reach out to her, and I just can't, because I don't know why. That is maybe something to explore even more in a future episode, if I decide that we should probably keep talking about this, because I feel foolish that we're doing another episode mostly about April. So clearly not as healed as I pretend to be, and this is a very strong sign that it's been not great that I've missed like a month of therapy, being a day out of town job here. And I did try and line something up on Friday actually, and it just didn't shake out because I was very, very sick and had plans and blah blah blah, which, yes, the two can exist simultaneously. But anyway, that is the entire script. I really don't know that we solved anything here. I don't know that we figured anything out. This is just the initial foray into this thought process is like, this is what's been going on within me lately, and that I'm really just kind of struggling with this being pulled in three directions, where it's April, God, and the pursuit of a new relationship. Sorry, I thought I heard something, guys. Am I about to be murdered? This hotel room has 2 front doors. So, anyway, yes, I don't know that we solved anything. Shock horror. But it felt good to talk about twice, and this episode is much more usable, I feel, than last night. So, not a total loss. Gave me time to practice and work out some of the kinks, even if I didn't remember parts of it because I was so drunk. But anyway, the end of the episode housekeeping. If you go to the Spotify episode page and scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a Q&A section that'll say something along the lines of, what did you think of this episode? If you have any questions, concerns, comments, criticisms, short form, feel free to throw them in there and fire it my way. And if you have sent one and I haven't answered it, it's because I genuinely forget to check it, because the Spotify for Podcasters app is a fucking mess for notifying me of that stuff. For anything longer form, or if you just don't have Spotify and don't want to use Spotify, the podcast has a fucking email. It is dumbereveryday42@gmail.com. Name of the show, 42@gmail.com. Send me all your questions, concerns, comments, criticisms. Again, try and be polite. Like, don't send me emails telling me to kill myself. That's a little bit rude. And then again, as mentioned at the top of the show, the podcast is also on YouTube now. So I will drop a link to that in the episode description. And there you go. You can go on there and leave little comments to your heart's desire, and that I may or may not see, because that is not, doesn't matter. But so the podcast is branching out, and we've got it on YouTube because I am exploring the idea of doing a video version of the podcast with my silly little face in it, so you can all see my terrible fucking posture when I'm doing these in the hotel room in the cuck chair. So something for down the line, just because I feel like you need a computer to really do this properly, and it's finally a step too far for the iPad. So I don't know, but might as well get it set up now, because why not? It's free, and can start building some engagement and getting some people watching it on there, and let the YouTube algorithm kind of do its work and bring new people in. So for now, that will be the episode. Look at that, guys. We did it. We kept it under an hour. I'm going to explore this Fairlight app. I downloaded it while I was recording, and we'll see if we can not have to rush next time when I got a big old script like I had for this one. But other than that, until next time, I hope you guys have a good morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time it is for you. And I will catch you, Mom, in the next episode. Hooroo.